Sunday morning with a very interesting and relevant talk, Heart Disorder Primary Prevention. The whole term primary prevention is very important. We have seen Dr. Kapadia's talks before. So the whole focus is on primary prevention. And of course, our speaker, Dr. Ramesh Kapadia, renowned cardiologist practicing for almost 55 years now. And many of you have attended his talks, and he's the pioneer torchbearer of the movement of the Universal Healing Program. And our chief guest, Mr. Jaiprakash Shivhare. He is the Commissioner of Health and Family Welfare and Medical Education in the Department of Health and Family Welfare in the Government of Gujarat. And before we go ahead, I would like to welcome both these gentlemen with a bouquet and a memento. I'll first welcome Mr. Jaiprakash Shivhare. We have also with us Dr. Dhaval Doshi, who has been taking this movement of Universal Healing Program ahead. He is a young cardiologist doing a lot of work in the preventive side. And I'll request Dr. Dhaval Bhai to welcome Dr. Kapadia, his guru, with the flowers and memento, please. It is paradoxical that in spite of the great advances in medical research, in diagnostics, better medicine and healthcare services, and a lot of awareness of health because of the social media, internet, and so on, but the incidence of cardiac diseases and other diseases like cancer and so on have increased. And I believe, and as most of you will agree, is due to the lifestyle and related reasons. According to reports of the World Health Organization, coronary heart disease, CHD in short, is the number one problem among the youth all over the world, and India is no exception. And from the long term, prevention of heart disease is very important, and in most parts of the world, this movement has picked up, very good momentum. And the thrust even on the India's planning for the healthcare, as Mr. Shivhare will be telling us, is for prevention. Something about our chief guest, Mr. Shivhare, who is heading the Commissioner of Health. He has just joined this department a few days ago, but prior to that, he was the Managing Director of the Dholera, City Development Corporation, which is, I think, a special purpose vehicle of the Dholera SIR. He's an IS officer, has handled various positions in the government before. And regarding our speaker and the UHP, I cannot introduce them separately because they are two parts of the same coin, Dr. Kapadia and the Universal Healing Program. So I will talk about him and the movement simultaneously. And before we do that, I would like to play a video message from Dr. Jayanti Ravi, who was to come here earlier for this program. She is the Principal Secretary Health and the Family Welfare Department, Government of Gujarat. So let's play her message.
Namaskar. I am delighted that we have this program today, which is going to be a beautiful talk by Dr. Ramesh Kapadia, a very, very inspiring person who has dedicated his life for the prevention of coronary diseases and actually removing all the fear psychosis that surrounds this by he has actually founded and given us the Universal Healing Program. I have been associated with him, and in fact, after joining the health department and I heard of his work, I was fascinated and proactively sought his appointment and spent a lot of time trying to understand what he's done. This is extremely relevant, particularly today, when we really talk of lifestyle disorders that is really plaguing a lot of people in our country. Our Honorable Prime Minister has launched the Ayushman Bharat campaign mission, which is actually about health and wellness. And the idea is that these non-communicable diseases, particularly those like coronary heart diseases or blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, etc., are detected, and people, by bringing about a change in their lifestyle, can actually lead a wholesome life, a good quality of life, and a disease-free life. In this context, I'm very glad that AMA has also come forward to support this initiative. I know that thousands of people from all walks of life have benefited from Dr. Kapadia's work. He's working with a missionary zeal even at this age and trying to spread this message far and wide. On behalf of the government, as a part of the Ayushman Bharat initiative, which is a dream of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Bhai Modi, I would like to certainly convey to him and to all the people here that the government would be delighted to partner with the efforts of Dr. Ramesh Kapadia and take his message of the Universal Healing Program to every citizen across the state through our network of the health and wellness centers of the Ayushman Bharat. I'd again like to congratulate Dr. Ramesh Kapadia. Due to some unavoidable circumstances, I am unable to join the program physically, but I'm very grateful that my colleague, Shri Jayaprakash Shivhare, has consented to be there. And I'd like to convey on behalf of all of us that we will do all that we can to take these messages of really leading a stress-free life and trying to follow these practices, to not be gripped by fear and panic when one hears of the possibility of a heart disease, but actually go about it in a more gentle way, in a more sustainable way, in a more reversible way, by following these practices, which would really be able to transform lives on a more permanent basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Jayanti Ravi has hit the nail. What Dr. Kapadia has been telling for years, most important part is that please do not have this fear, even if that fear is instilled in you by persons. Please, 50% of the problem will be solved by not having the fear. So, moving ahead, Dr. Ramesh Kapadia, an FRCP from the Edinburgh in United Kingdom. He studied there and is a distinguished professor of medicine and a successful consultant, has been practicing for 54 years. This is his 55th year of practice in Ahmedabad. And apart from his accolades and the work done, I think the first and foremost things I've observed over the years as I've been a volunteer with his movement, and he's a very humble and a patriotic person, and like many thinkers and accomplished persons, he combines the wisdom of the East and the scientific knowledge of the West, and he has always walked an extra mile in whatever he does, and he has been closely associated with the Gujarat Vidyapith, where he has even set up the building of the Universal Healing Program with an endowment and support from others. Dr. Larry Dorsey, a distinguished physician, author, and an authority in alternative medicine, visited India in 1988 to deliver a lecture on medicine and non-violence at the Gandhi Peace Foundation in Delhi. He encouraged Dr. Kapadia in the mission. He gifted Dr. Kapadia a book on reversing heart diseases by Dr. Dean Ornish of the United States, who is very famous for this movement on prevention. Dr. Kapadia came in touch with Dr. Dean Ornish program on management of coronary heart disease, started the Universal Healing Program on 2nd October 1991. So that's now almost 28 years since the UHP has been starting. Though this was primarily for the cardiac diseases, but subsequently Dr. Kapadia proved through scientific studies that this is beneficial to all persons for their all round, meaning the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Dr. Kapadia has been widely felicitated for his missionary work and has authored 8 books and so many booklets, of course, mostly published by the Navjivan Press. And he delivered numerous lectures, participated in seminars and conferences throughout the world. In January 2019, Dr. Kapadia organized the Holistic Cardiology Conference at the Gujarat Vidyapith. And in this conference, there were galaxy of speakers, practitioners, cardiologists, cardiac surgeons from India and the USA, and this included so many doctors from abroad, like from the Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Neeson, Dr. Murad Tuzu, and so many others. The Universal Healing Program has mainly 3 elements. That's the diet counseling, the moderate exercise like walking, 30-40 minutes, stretching and relaxation, leading to progressive deep relaxation. That is nothing but Savasana, our very own practice. And subsequently the medical and visual imaginary group discussion with emphasis on sharing and feelings. Dr. Kapadia has been very kind to get speakers of international repute to talk about the subject, and this includes Dr. Manchanda, from the ex-head of cardiology from the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Dr. Murad Tuju of the Cleveland Clinic of USA and also in Abu Dhabi, Dr. Neeson from Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Ramakant Panda, Dr. Kapadia's son, Samir Kapadia, who is also at the Cleveland Clinic USA, and Dr. Ambadekar from Mumbai, and many others, of course. Our cardiologists from Ahmedabad, cardiosurgeons, have always come to different programs. And Kapadia's friends, lastly, from the medical field and all other well-wishers have been requesting him to take this movement further for the well-being of all human beings and for prevention. And this UHP center I mentioned, UHP movement has been going on, but the actual building where people can go for this, weekly yoga and other counseling sessions that have been set up at the Gujarat Vidyapith over a year ago. So anyway, I will not take much, I've taken enough of your time, so I now request Mr. Shiv Hare to share his thoughts on today's before we go to the lecture. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Dr. Ramesh Kapadia, Sri Divyesh Radia, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a privilege to be here today, and in the morning to meet Dr. Kapadia. It's so energizing to see him, walking the stairs instead of using lift. So it gives, so much of energy, and you feel more young in company of young people like Dr. Kapadia. So it's a privilege to be here. In recent years, if you talk about health program throughout the country, major focus was on, providing health care. Then some 15 years, 20 years back, government started shifting its focus on prevention. So government came up with a very ambitious program called NRHM. And in NRHM, primary focus was on RCS, reproductive and child health. So that program was extremely successful, and it has made huge impact in the society. Government went for immunization and services to pregnant mothers and then children. And but now slowly, as our society is changing, as prosperity is increasing, Indian society is now plagued by so many other lifestyle diseases. And now slowly focus is shifting towards tackling not only primary care but secondary and tertiary care. In last 5 years, Government of India has launched very ambitious programs, and one program I'm sure all of you must be aware about that is Ayushman Bharat. And in Ayushman Bharat, government has started very ambitious program called Prime Minister Jan Arogya Yojana that provides 5 lakh coverage to all the BPL families, and it covers roughly 40 percent of India's population, and they can get cashless services in all the government hospitals and listed private hospitals. But government is also very much conscious about preventive aspects in healthcare. So promoting Indian medicines and Indian system of medicines and yoga was one of the focus areas of government. And that has gained a lot of success. Now every year we are celebrating this World Yoga Day. But even before that, 3 years back, I was in Australia for my master's program, and yoga has become such a popular that everybody talks about yoga. In campuses, you can see yoga classes, courses are being run on yoga. But unfortunately, we have forgot our own best traditions. And recently, Honorable Prime Minister said in one program that our best of our practices have been forgotten. In fact, we have disowned them. I was just discussing before coming to this event that Honorable Prime Minister has said that even foods like fiber-rich foods, which are really healthy, got associated with some socio-economic category of people. That only millets and barley is used by poor people who cannot afford good food. And what became good food was pizza and burgers and all that non-healthy stuff. That's why we are now catching so many lifestyle diseases. But thankfully, now focus is coming back to our own Indian system of medicine and how we can prevent these lifestyle diseases. And I'm extremely happy to listen such a luminary, Mr. Kapadia, who is going to talk about preventive aspects. In a public health system, the biggest challenge is that large number of patients are coming. Our hospitals are not able to handle those kind of intake. A lot of people are going to private hospitals. But even in this gathering, if I may ask, how many of you feel very comfortable going to a private hospital, and if you don't know the doctor personally, that you will get the right kind of treatment? If you can raise your hands. I think we don't feel very comfortable. Some people go to hospitals for a small ailment, and then they are handed over a huge bill. Sometimes we hear the stories, and I'm sure all of you must be having personal experience, experience shared by your relatives or friends, that I went to this hospital and I how I got a hefty bill. So patients are being treated for non-existent ailments. That has become the biggest challenge. And Dr. Kapadia was telling me, our system is creating psychosis, paranoia about things which don't exist. So it also creates a big challenge for us, and it's a great opportunity for government hospitals to take a greater role, because people still trust government hospitals that they will not be given wrong treatment. Issue is about the quality. Issue is about the hygiene. So we are working on that. So we'll try to improve those systems so that you feel confident while going to a private government hospital that you will get the best of treatment. This Ayushman Bharat scheme is having two components: Prime Minister Jan Arogya Yojana, that I've already talked about, but second very important component that is now being promoted by Government of India and Honorable Prime Minister is about creating health and wellness centers all over the country. So Government of India has proposed to create 150,000 such centers, and focus is on prevention and on holistic living. The concept that Dr. Kapadia is proposing, he has been working on that concept for last so many years. So it's a great opportunity, and Dr. Kapadia will be extremely happy to get your guidance how to take it forward and how to roll out that in all over the state. We are already working on that. So many PSCs and some sub-centers have been converted into health and wellness centers where community members can go, get their primary checkup, talk to our health staff about how to prevent. We also want to create that kind of ecosystem where you don't go to health and wellness center only when you need some kind of health advice, but you should also regularly visit to those centers because you want to know about how to prevent the diseases. So it's a huge opportunity to connect with the society, to create an environment where people can live a healthy life and enjoy this life. So I will not take much of your time. I think all of us are here very keen to listen to Dr. Kapadia. It's a rare opportunity to interact with such a luminary. So thank you so much. And I hope that in all our endeavors, he will guide us. And we are very keen to keep interacting with community members about how to improve our health and wellness centers. So if you have any suggestions, I'll be happy to take down your suggestions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts. And yes, over the years, we know that the facilities in the public hospitals have increased with the insurance scheme of the government of our Honorable Prime Minister. More and more benefits in terms of amount to the families are coming. So we are looking ahead for really better days. And I now request Dr. Kapadia to deliver his talk today. So you want to talk from there or here? Whatever. Okay. Okay. પછી તું સાઈડથી કરીશ પહેલાથી કરીશ પહેલાથી કરીશ
Very young Jai Prakash first. Jai Prakash, Radia, now listen to, yeah, I'm addressing this, introducing him as a very young Jai Prakash, here today. So, and I don't know, while he was talking about hospitals, I remembered the remark of one philosopher. What was his name? I forget just now. Anyway, he said that, very well known one, he said that hospitals are not the places where sick people should go. That was the remark of a very, very well-known person from USA. So that was just to say about the Jai Prakash. Now, before I talk about the primary prevention of coronary heart disease, I wish to tell you something which is so important and probably very new to you. That coronary heart disease now is tamed. You get a dog and then you tame it and then he does exactly what you want to do. So that coronary heart disease now no longer an enigma. It was thought that we don't know who will get a heart attack, what will happen, is no longer there. We know who can get heart attack. We know the treatment very well. And now the fear of heart attack has come on only after the advent of angiography and angioplasty in 60s. But coronary heart disease existed much before that also. And I have been very fortunate that I am associated with or I am learning about coronary heart disease for last 70 years. 55 years I have been in practice. And before that, 10 years, I was training myself in cardiology in the best centers of the world, in UK and USA. And when I was there, most VVIPs were being treated by my teachers, and at that time there was no angiography or angioplasty even in UK and USA. Eisenhower got the heart attack, President Eisenhower, in 1955, And at that time, there was no angiography or angioplasty. And his doctor, Paul Dudley White, who was my age at that time, about in age 80s, I'm now 85, he treated him, and we know about it. And he treated him with simple measures, asked him to give up his cigars and maintain his weight, do some regular exercise after he recovered from heart attack. And then he continued to remain a president of United States for one term of 4 years. And he was so popular that people asked him to continue for another 4 years without any competition. So for 8 years he remained president after getting heart attack. And after retiring from the presidentship, he lived for another 11 years. And talking about my practice in this town, from the very first day, I practiced only for heart and heart attack. I don't know anything about anything in medicine. I am just completely as ignorant as any layman is. And I practiced from the very first day only for heart disease. And everyone wondered that a young man coming from listening and starting his practice, consulting practice as a cardiologist, as a physician cardiologist, and saying that he is going to see only heart patients in his clinic. Naturally, I saw only about 11 patients in the whole year. And the next year was 80. And then, of course, I lost the count. So with that history, you must realize that for first 25 years of my practice, there were no corporate hospitals. And there was no angiography and angioplasty. And I was so fortunate, I made my name and I treated VVIPs of the state. And nobody died, because those who came were alive, therefore they came for the treatment. Otherwise they would not. And those who came under our care, they didn't die. I tell you, it's a fact. Not only that, but some of them, because I like to see my patients, and when I call them for follow-up, after about 3 months or 6 weeks or like, I was seeing them, and when I saw them for follow-up, I said, how nice of them to come for follow-up and tell me how they are. So I was learning from them. So I decided that I should give them some incentive to come to me. So I decided that I must be thankful to them. Therefore I said that, okay, my so-and-so consultation fee is today this, but for the whole year, it is just 1.5 times of this, and you come for follow-up, and it will be free, but come at a time when you are given. And everyone came at the time given to them, and I learned a lot of the things from follow-up. So much so that so many patients who came to me and were treated, some of them said, which was a real nice thing to hear, the doctor, we are feeling better than before. I said, what do you mean? Better than what we had a heart attack. Some said that thank God we had a heart attack, now we are better than before. And now we are enjoying our life better, my business is better, I have progressed in every way after heart attack. Better than before. I read a paper in international conference in 1978 when Mr. Morarjibhai Desai was the Prime Minister. And it was held in Bombay. And he inaugurated that conference. And at that time when I talked about that, a Japanese doctor got up and he said, what a thing, what a surprising thing. All that became completely clouded after the advent of angiography and angioplasty. Now people talk about only one thing, that I have got a 90% block, what will happen now? But they don't realize that any artery, this is very important if you learn that any artery which is more than 80% blocked, which is there with you, cannot give rise to heart attack. Heart attack never occurs in an artery which is more than 70% blocked. If you have an artery which is 70% blocked, that artery, even if it becomes 100% blocked, you don't get a heart attack. You get heart attack in the arteries which are normal today or which are less than 60% blocked. Then you can get a heart attack, if that gets blocked. You see, if you have a road going to a particular city And if one of the road is 90% blocked, and still you are going to that city due to some other roads, then if that 90, because the person is alive, he has come to you, so he's getting the blood from some other road. That is already there. Now that 90% block road becomes 100% blocked, you are still going to go to that place where you are going, because you are going through that only 90% block, you are not going to that road, the other road. So, but if the artery is normal and it gets blocked, then you get a heart attack. So that I have got so many people, who are completely normal, and their ejection fraction of the heart, that is another thing which we have really complicated. We cardiologists have complicated. That ejection fraction of the heart is measured in very, very odd way for a common man to understand. A newborn baby, the ejection fraction is 60%. So 60% is 100%. Now that very difficult to explain to a common man. So 60% ejection fraction is 100% good heart, left ventricle working, 100%. 100 cc of blood comes to that left ventricle. When it contracts once, 60 cc comes out. Therefore it is 60%. So if anyone who will get a heart attack, and after 6 weeks of rest, if his ejection fraction is more than 40 or 45, he has recovered completely. He has recovered completely. And so many people get 50%, 45% after 6 weeks of rest. And they do not require any intervention whatsoever. Let me tell you that I am not at all against intervention. And my own brother was operated for bypass surgery in 1986 by Dr. Denton Cooley, the number one surgeon of the world. But that was a different story because he got the heart attack and his ejection fraction remained 30% after the heart attack. If it remains 30%, then such people are benefited by bypass surgery if by bypass surgery that improves. So this is thank you. So you understand one thing, that what I am trying to tell you today before I talk about primary prevention is that coronary heart disease now is not to be feared at all. And what has complicated the whole treatment of coronary heart disease is that fear, you see, it's a very sensitive artery. Fear constricts the artery. So it increases the symptoms. And fear increases the viscosity of the blood. Therefore, both these factors occur and you get the chest pain, you get everything. So what we have to do as cardiologists today, and it's very difficult for the cardiologists who have trained themselves after the 70s, and most of them who are practicing now are practicing after, because you can understand that it's 60s if you had come, and today is the 2019. So most of the cardiologists who are working today all over the world are after the birth of angiography and angioplasty. And therefore, I have got experience in my clinic that these well-meaning doctors, my students, well-meaning doctors, they tell their own father, brother, elder brother, after recovering from heart attack and getting an ejection fraction of 45 and 50 after the recovery, they still tell their father, it's better we get the bypass done because your 3 arteries are blocked. Now, so all these people whom you blame, these doctors, that they are all money-minded and they are after money and all that, I don't agree with them. The majority are working under a belief, a strong belief, that this is the way it should be done. I have known 2 intimate friends meeting each other and just for doing a routine treadmill test and becoming positive treadmill test, he said, let us do angiography. Did the angiography and found a block. He said, let me just dilate that artery and do an angioplasty. So such things happen now so often. So the whole thing has to be completely revised. I am very bold to tell you, and I have said this in USA. And the doctor from Germany was a bypass surgeon, he agreed with me. And a doctor here, Ramakant Panda, the number one surgeon one of the most prominent surgeons who operated a very difficult surgery of Manmohan Singh ji. He tells me, he was one day with me in the interview on the channel, and he said, I said that my surgery is now reduced, Ramesh bhai, by about 40%. It's becoming less. Only in some people who really do not want to understand anything, we operate and they come back within 2 years with the same thing because they start eating what they were doing, and they just think that bypass surgery has now helped him. So apart from such people, in really thinking people, he said bypass surgery is coming down. And that is the experience in the United States. My son is doing angioplasty every day, but now he's not doing angioplasty, he's doing it only once in a week because it's come down. And now, of course, he's doing something to avoid surgery in the most difficult cases where the valves have been replaced, valves have to be replaced by surgery. Now he is doing it without surgery, he is replacing the valve to a catheter. So the whole progress in coronary heart disease is to do less and less of intervention. Only very few cases, and in such cases where you get the chest pain, and if you reach the right place within 4 hours, then that culprit artery is getting obstructed. At that time, if you open it up, you save the person from getting heart attack. When the Maruti car and the truck, is coming close, is about to get a crash, and if you prevent it, that is something. But already that it has crashed has occurred and you are saved. You have lived. Then looking at that crash has no meaning. We have to just prevent that other crash does not occur. So this is what is happening today, and therefore, now we talk about the subject of primary prevention. I tell you that major part of my career, when I used to deliver talks, at that time these slides were not there, and we had real wonderful meetings. Even that meeting in 1978, which I'm talking about. But anyway. You know that, secondary prevention and primary prevention, you can understand. Go ahead.
Take a second.
I know. See, this is very important, what I talked about, that doctor who treated Eisenhower. In 1948, the Framingham study, that doctor, Paul Dudley White, he started this Framingham study. And that Framingham study is still going on. And let's go ahead. Now, all this is quite knowledge, quite common knowledge now. High blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, smoking, obesity, diabetes, physical inactivity are the causes which may lead to heart attack. Now, see, what is family history? That also I have to explain here in some of these people. That a family history means your blood relation on either side. If they have had a heart attack below the age of 70 or a stroke below the age of 70, then it is called that you have got a family history. And in such family history, sometimes the heart attack is not necessarily due to a wrong lifestyle change, the lifestyle which we blame the lifestyle. You can be completely, absolutely healthy lifestyle if you are living, and you do not smoke, you are not overweight, you exercise daily. All the merits that you can count, you may have all the merits. That's what happened in our family. In our family, nobody smoked, nobody used alcohol. They were all vegetarians, and they were all, whatever merits you want to say, they were all full of merits. But full of merits and everything does not prevent heart attack. Now that is what is to be understood. That one element which causes heart attack now. We have really done a wonderful research in coronary heart disease. As I told you, we have already tamed it. We can prevent it, we can treat it, and there is no reason to fear of it. Once I tell you, through some source, we are trying hard. Okay, if we remove the fear of the disease, we will win the battle completely. And the fear, as I said repeatedly all the time, has come on after angiography and angioplasty, because the cost has increased. And as soon as you get the pain in the chest, you think about what cost now, what will happen to me after that, and now all these thoughts increase the severity, which is to be understood very well by the lay people as well as by these newly trained cardiologists. They do it in good faith, without just meaning it. When they treat the person, when they come to the clinic, come to the hospital, their every behavior, their everything increases the severity. While in our cases, when we treated, and now still we treated that, our behavior is that because the person has come alive to you, that means that artery got obstructed and the collateral circulation has started, therefore he is alive. And therefore what you have to tell him, that now that your heart has got an injury to a part, if you've got an injury to the leg, what we'll do, put it in plaster for 6 weeks and it heals. Now you can't put the heart in plaster. That is the difficult thing. But we put it in plaster by our reassurance. Reassurance is the key. And reassurance has completely gone out from doctor. A doctor is unfit to treat a patient of coronary heart disease if he cannot give reassurance. I said this in my meetings very importantly, and everyone in the United States, they raised their hand and said, this is so important. Reassurance has disappeared. Now, but reassurance has disappeared and you can't find fault with these young doctors. Because these young doctors have been trained and taught that this is to be done, this is to be done. The teachers which have come up now and the teachers where we had, there were a lot of difference. So whole picture of, because I tell you, I became doctor only for when I came to understand the heart attack, I started taking interest in my studies. Before that, 5 years in medical college in a routine training, I really spent that time reading books and had a good girlfriend who became my wife, and seeing movies and all that. But I could remember the things very well. I had good memory, and what I read, I remember, therefore I passed my exams. However, I became interested in the whole subject of cardiology when I came to England. And in England, my father wanted me to become a surgeon because I was always keeping my rank because I could remember the things. But when I did my first internship internship for surgery, then you have to do for medicine, and when you have completed, then you get the British Medical Council membership. So my surgeon, with whom I worked as an intern, after 6 months he called me to his office and he said, Dr. Kapadia, he used to say, Ramesh Kapadia, you are 5,000 miles away from your home, and I don't want to be your guardian that way, but I tell you one thing, you are very, very bright, and you will pass your FRCS at first attempt and become a surgeon, but I don't think you are fit to become a surgeon. And you are very fit to become a physician. And I had to do my medical term. So when I went to the medical term, he introduced me very well, and I got the best doctor to work with, Dr. Veji at that time in UK. And when I worked with him, then I realized that I liked this subject. And then I fell in love with it. And then one by one, I got good doctors. And when I finished my MRCP in cardiology, I was, as a Commonwealth scholar, I was recommended to go to a very prominent hospital in USA, and that was a 3,000-bedded hospital. And I was appointed completely out of town as a chief resident in cardiology right from the beginning. Usually in the United States, when you go, whatever your qualification, you have to do the residency and all that. But I was chief resident from the beginning because I was a Commonwealth scholar. And for what? Only because of my interest in cardiology, and my teachers were the most prominent cardiologists of the world at that time. And they all treated VVIPs, and there was no angiography and angioplasty at that time. And they all recovered. I could see that how they recovered after recovering heart attack. So all that has not gone from my mind at all, and it has strengthened my experience in these last 55 years. Today, I see people for second opinions. And for second opinions, when they come for second opinion to my clinic and wait for 2 hours to meet me, how can they require angiography or angioplasty? They come for second opinion, whether I require it or not. I said, obviously you don't require it. You are here with me. How can you require it? And then I know how to treat it and what medicines to give naturally after all this experience I have. And we have advanced. We have got such now wonderful medicines to control it. And they feel well. So thousands of patients are well now, without intervention. I have not done any magic. But even then, when they talk, they say that I am well in spite of my arteries, 2 or 3 blocks and all that. So that is very difficult to remove. I am just praying hard that this block in the artery and thinking about the blocks, if you can remove it, that will be a great service. And now talking exactly about the subject of primary prevention, I tell you one thing, that we have to start primary prevention from the age of 9, 10 and 11. And for that you should see my video talk with Dr. Nishen, who is an internationally famous person for introducing primary prevention. He has worked for consistently last 30 years on primary prevention. And he actually invited me to talk with him on primary prevention just about 1.5 months ago when I returned from United States. And what he said was so relevant. He said that the topmost authorities of your country should know that primary prevention is feasible, is important, and it is if you institute it, then we will prevent 50% of heart attacks in next 25 years. And the highest incidence of heart attack in all over the world in the young is in India. And that he said that now, if the central authorities of India, it takes a cue from you how to prevent it, which we know it now, then the whole world will know it. Because India is such a great country, and the youth of India is not only youth of India, it's the youth of the world, which is now number 1 all over the world. All these advanced countries like UK, USA, Canada and all that, and Europe, they all are thriving and getting ahead and ahead because of the talent from India. So youth of India, is a wealth of the world. And this wealth of the world is at highest risk of getting heart attack. And it is easy to prevent it if you bring awareness right in a family where there is a heart attack. You begin to teach the mother for the children at the age of 9, 10, and 11, because then they are receptive. There is no use talking about prevention at the age of 25, because they are so much immersed in their daily activities, they have no time. So the health consciousness is not there at all. It has to be created right from the childhood. And that's what I have been doing. I came here, and in one very important school, I had a live FaceTime meeting with 300 parents, and it went so successful. So many people thanked me, and he said, "Now, doctor, this is something, if we can teach that at 9, 10, 11, they will accept it." Because whatever mother says. So that we have to start, and we have to take help of people like these young people who has come today, all that, Jai Prakash, and Madam Ravi, she impressed me the most. When she came, she took the charge, she telephoned me saying that I have practiced Savasana. Now that Savasana, I'll talk about at the last, but we come back to the subject that primary prevention has to start right from the age of 9, 10 and 11. And it's very simple. You don't have to give up all your taste for eating. No, not at all. Actually, you have to increase the taste for eating. There is nothing wrong with it. But simple rules that at least some exercise is so essential. And that's why you have to form that habit right from the childhood that some exercise is going. Then fast food means it has become tasty, that is, the taste is developed right from the childhood that you develop that taste. Like that when I was young, I was given in my family only vegetables or potatoes, So I didn't any green vegetable also I never tasted, even when I went to medical school. And there I learned gradually that all the green vegetables have to be taken. So that was taught to my wife at that time. I was in love with her, and she taught me that we should eat some more vegetables and all that. So all that we have to inculcate right from the childhood, and exercise. But after all that, one thing I want to explain to you today, the most important, is that the culprit cholesterol, LDL. Now, about the cholesterol, I tell you, I have changed my views 5 times in last 50 years. 5 times I have changed my views. And what is happening now is almost confirmed in many research projects. Therefore, doctors who have stopped practicing in the last 10 years ago, they do not agree, and they still keep on saying that all this cholesterol business is useless. All this, the treatment of cholesterol by statin is absolutely faulty and all that. At one time, I used to believe that, because the first statin which came up was so harmful that it caused baldness, it caused cataracts. So it was such a bad beginning for a statin group. And that has not gone yet from the minds of so many people. And now they take a statin causes muscle pains. This is another thing. So United States has coined a nice word. One word, placebo, that if you have trust in the doctor, he gives you any pill and you feel well. That is a placebo. Now the other word is nocebo. Nocebo is that people know that they get the muscle pains when they take the statins. So they start having muscle pains as soon as they start statin. The doctors also believe that majority doctors, they don't, that can cause muscle pains. But I tell you from experience of large number of patients that nobody who requires it gets it. And for primary prevention, I'm so happy to tell you, and let it go around all over the world, that the shining example for primary prevention and the result of it is standing in front of you. I have not been ill, as I remember, for one single day, and I'm running in the 85th year of my life. But let me tell you that all people in our family are as healthy as I am, but they were not aware of this thing, and large number of them, roughly about 20 of them, got the heart attack, and they had no vice. They were all normal weight, exercise, everything, but they had a culprit cholesterol, LDL, very high. My lipids were measured in an advanced hospital in USA when I was only 28. And my total cholesterol, and I was only this weight or probably 2 kilograms more, and my total cholesterol was 315. And the LDL cholesterol was 163. Now, how can it be? Because of my diet. Of course, I was vegetarian at that time, and I was taking a lot of milk products. But even then, I was not overweight, and I was active. And then when I came home, my doctor told me, he was cardiologist to President Kennedy at that time. He said that, you see and meet your brother. And I measured my brother's, and it was 315 total cholesterol. And he's 3 years younger to me, and he was also healthy and little taller and slim and very active as a lawyer. And he got a heart attack at the age of 53, just when we were sitting next, and all of a sudden he got a heart attack. And then his ejection fraction did not improve, and I told you he was given the benefit of bypass surgery. But what I'm trying to tell you is that people forget that this runs in the family. And this is the recent research for last 15 years, that the culprit cholesterol is LDL. How much we talked about HDL at one time? How much we talked? Should be good. I was worried. My HDL was only 25 and I wanted to increase it somehow. People said you take a glass of red wine and it will increase and all that. All that was there at one time. And now HDL has now no longer a good cholesterol talk at all. No longer. Good cholesterol is out. Because Dr. Nissen, who is an international authority, he said that I was given some medicines which will increase HDL, and that also did not improve the incidence of heart attack at all. So they will say HDL is now no longer a good cholesterol. Now how many people know it? Because I taught, when I see people like us who taught, and I stopped teaching many years ago, at that time I said that this statin group of drugs should not be taken, because that was my experience as a student. The first statin came, which caused blind cataracts and baldness. So therefore I taught myself that statin should be avoided for a long time. But I keep on changing my, my knowledge and my experience and all that with the advances in medicine, in cardiology, because I am in constant touch with it. I'm lucky. And therefore now, let me tell you, and this should go really to all your friends and relatives and all that, that LDL cholesterol is to be measured in a family history at the age of, at the age of 15 or 20. Can you believe this? How many people will believe that? That at the age of 15 and 20, you measure LDL in a healthy child. But now that has been accepted all over the world because of the recent research. And if the LDL cholesterol is high in that child, then we must learn to explain to them that they should be extra careful regarding the saturated fats, extra careful about the exercise that they should take. And in spite of that, if it doesn't come down, there is no harm in giving a small dose of statin even at the age of 20. Even at the age of 20. As the research stands today, at the age of 20 also you give a small dose of statin and watch whether the LDL comes down. It is worth doing it. Now how can that be a teaching if about only 15 years ago? But now it is proven so well. They have studied 20,000 patients in one direction and 20,000 patients were treated rigorously for keeping their LDL below 60, and others were treated at normal knowledge. Both were there, and over the period of 15 years, they found the rate of heart attacks and mortality. And Dr. Nissen told me that he himself learned that this whole people who were given this benefit of this, none died on that. Therefore, now let me talk about myself, because it really applies to primary prevention in a very big way. Because my cholesterol was, as I showed you, 163 LDL, and my brother got the heart attack without any fault of his. Therefore, at that time I was in the United States and they measured my LDL again, and it was 162. So then I started taking, at that time, which I was not doing it here and which I was not prescribing, but my cardiologist explained to me that you take 40 milligram of, first 20 milligram, but they said no, 40 milligram. So I kept 40 milligram up to the age of 72. And with 40 milligram, my LDL was remaining round about 80, 85. Round about 80, 85, up to the age of 72 roughly. So then my cardiologist, because of the recent knowledge, when he checked me up, he said, "Doctor, still your LDL is high. Why don't you make it 80 now?" Because, and I was feeling as well as today. but I'm wedded to research. I was thinking, then I told him that, look, I'm so well at the age of 72 and taking 40 milligram, and my LDL is, of course, according to the recent reports, it is a little high. I'll diet a little more. But if I have any symptom, then I would make it 80. So then, because he had become my friend, and as I've said it in my several meetings, he said, then you may not require it at all. If you wait that something happens, then you will take it, then you may not require it at all. I understood him, and from that night I made it 80. And that I am continuing 80 today. And with 80, my cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, with my proper usual dieting and all that, is 66. Sometimes I feel that I should do something more about this, even with therapeutically, to bring it down. So you have to be very scientific. You have to keep your ideas very not rigid. You have to learn from and the research is only done in countries like United States because they have a lot of money and people are ready to even go into the experiment. That one batch of people, they would say, okay, they would continue this. Other batch of people would say, all right, we'll do this way. How many people would agree? But they do it. So it's a crucible of research. And we have to really take advantage of it. And we should now really concentrate, as my friend Jai Prakash said, as Jayanti Ravi says, as the Prime Minister is now aware, that we should reduce the number of hospitals and we should make the preventive programs and the preventive hospitals, or centers teaching prevention more and more. And therefore, today I wanted to emphasize only on people who have had a heart attack in their family before the age of 70. Because people think 70 is the age to die. That is nonsense now. People get very offended. And in United States, somebody was celebrating last year his 95th year, and and it was a great celebration. I was taking part in that, and one of them, his friend came from India. He wished him. He said, "Tame sona thajo em ke." He felt so insulted. At 95, he is active like anything, absolutely active, working for 14 hours a day. And this fellow says that it's like that is a type of thing, we have to come out of that. You see? and I tell you that very soon, with concerted efforts, we should remove the fear of heart attack. Fear. And in my clinic, I am successful. So successful that I don't have time now whom to accommodate. I have to rest at least 5 days in a week. I work. And one of the persons who is helping me is sitting in front of me here, a good doctor. So all these people, they come. And she always tells me that when we call them for follow-up, we call them only for earliest 3 months and then 6 months and then a year. All follow-ups, if they follow our instructions, are completely well. They all say, "Oh, doctor, I am all right now, completely." But then some of them then say, "Still, what about that block which I have got?" I said, "Look, your block is going to remain till we get little better understanding among the doctors and all that." So this business of block. So America is very good in giving all the names. So they have named it as oculostenotic reflex. It's known as oculostenotic reflex. As soon as all these doctors become doctors in last 60 years or 50 years, they see the block, and as soon as they see the block, they think that something must be done about the block. The patient as well as the doctor. They suffer from, the United States makes all the new words. The patients as well as doctors are suffering from oculostenotic reflex. As soon as they see, all right, now what to do? And my one another last thing which I want to emphasize today, that doing LDL is important, and first give a chance to dieting and exercise, then necessary give statin, and statins have become now very safe, absolutely without side effect and everything. So that part is to be understood very well. And let me tell you the other thing which I was going to tell you about the treatment. Let me how much science is progressing. If we have now, and still we are ignorant in India, that we have now a way to study your coronary arteries without angiography, without any intervention, without anything, just like an X-ray, but an advanced scanning. So advanced scanning, if you do, you can see the coronary arteries and study what is happening to the coronary arteries without angiogram. They now do CT angiography. That is worse than angiography. You inject a lot of iodine in it. We have to forget about injecting iodine. Just like in his case, I would like to do his coronary calcium score tomorrow. So just go to a advanced X-ray. Those are doing scanning of brain and chest and everything. You do the coronary calcium score, and the coronary calcium score tells you that it's a 0. That means all arteries, they do not have any obstruction whatsoever. And we can study that coronary calcium score in a person who is, they studied with me. They studied with me when I was 60 years of age. And I found that my LAD, I was as symptomatic as today, nothing wrong. But in LAD, the important artery supplying the blood to the left ventricle, there was a deposition, which was occurs to everyone, just like we get a gray hair. But it was a little bit more than acceptable. Therefore, I started my treatment. Now that is available in India at all places where they are doing the advanced X-rays. But none of them, and very few of them, do the coronary calcium score. And if they do it, they will do CT angiography. He said, you don't have to get admitted. We will inject the iodine in the X-ray clinic and find out. And that is worse than the angiography, because you have to inject a lot of iodine. Now, because now the longevity has increased, and as many times as you use iodine for your testing, you are harming the kidney, because the kidney has to remove the iodine. Therefore, it should be reserved only in cases where it is absolutely necessary, matter of life and death. Therefore, coronary calcium score, sitting here, so many of my friends, my relatives and all that, I had got that done. And I have got their lipids done in a family history. And then if the lipids were abnormal, that is the LDL cholesterol, and this thing, then we instituted a small dose of statin. And really